Okay, guys, we're live. You guys doing good? I know Zen's at work.
Yeah,
Extra.
doing good. I apologize for if you hear any banging or noise in the background. Multitasking a little bit here, but
I hear you.
glad that you invited me on, Banana, and glad Mando's here as well. Talked about
Yeah, Hayden.
UFO and PulseChain.
100%. Yeah, I think it's a good time. I'm getting sick and tired of that sound in the background. You're gonna have to fix it, Zen. Okay. Along with the Wi-Fi. I'm just playing.
Yeah, it's either I'm here and you have to hear banging, or I'm at home and you have to hear a kid crying or something. I don't have too many options for you guys here.
I think it's interesting right now, Prairie. I think we're on obviously the precipice of something. I have a few things that I'll put out there during the course of this stream that I'm seeing, and some cautionary tales. But yeah, if you want to kick it off, let's do it.
Yeah, cool. See what you want says hi everyone from the UK. Hi Lemonade. Lemonade always jumps in. He always has that pink hand. Extra PulseX been hanging around a lot. Excited about the Grays. He says everyone tuning in, share the YouTube stream to your platform. Let's pump our own bags. Pie Mine says, hey PTGC crew. Yeah, so they're piling in. The guys are piling in, and some people will be watching the re-stream or the replay. Actually,
log into a couple of the online data KPI sites.
Okay, that sounds good. PTDC Maxi says, any plans to pair with Peacock? I think it's already done, dude. If you go to
we've already got a pair.
Secretobank.com. Man, I saw it. Hey, Josh. Let me share my screen. I'll show it to you guys. And I'm open to hearing any comments on that because I saw that and I got a little excited because I've been watching the chart a little bit, just a very little bit. Peacock, we have a $19,000 LP with it, and it has in the last 24 hours out of the 131. I don't think this is accurate. $131,000 in volume, $1,700 through that Peacock pair. And when I was looking at this on Sunday, it was about 10% of the overall of all the volume Peacock was of all of our volume.
Did you say you didn't think it was accurate, or what were you saying, Banana?
Well, I don't think the total. I'm going to check the total volume because I'm just going to refresh my screen. I think it is accurate. 131,000.
Yeah, I think it's pretty accurate. Secreto Bank sometimes leaves out one pair here or there. I notice, but for the most part, it's pretty close.
Sure.
Yeah, those new pairs, they're very interesting, right? They're exposing us to some assets that are very speculative that I hope do very well over the long term. But what's kind of cool about those, pump dot tire pairs that are low market cap, high speculative plays is they're very, very volatile. So even with very little amount of liquidity in them, we don't have to take a very large position in them to be exposed to them. But since they have so much volatility, this really triggers off our utility of generating revenue off of the fluctuation of those assets. So even with a small amount of liquidity, it seems like we generate decent amounts of revenue from those pairs.
Well, look at case in point. Look at the Bria pair. 9,000, just under 10,000 in LP, and 24-hour volumes 5,800.
Right there, over 50% of volume to LP ratio.
Yeah,
that is a massive volume to LP ratio.
Okay, I had never looked at it like that. Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Oh, that's pretty much one of the main ratios we look at when we're looking at the production of a pair.
Okay, I like it. Which means that Peacock was in that class on Sunday when I was looking at it, because I think it had $26,000 and the volume was about 10 grand, I think. So it was close.
Yep. Yeah. Those on the days that those tokens, like Bria, I think went on a decent run yesterday after like a good consolidation. So obviously there was some good action there. The day you're probably looking at the Peacock pair, was probably a good action day for Peacock, which obviously brought volume and volatility through our ecosystem. And we get to not only be tied to a fun token on chain, but we also get to utilize it to generate revenue for our holders in our system too.
Cool. Crypto Durgan says, thanks for streaming, guys. You are welcome.
Yep, you're welcome.
Well, what kind of newsworthy stuff is there? I mean, is there anything? There's got to be stuff happening, but like, what is happening? Does any, what kind of
$20,000 of pTGC was bought and burned yesterday.
Yes. 400 million pulse, right?
400 million pulse, just by the DAO. And then there was also the automated buy and burns happening too from UFO and pTGC as well. So we were right over, I think, $20,000. I think maybe got to $21,000 of buy and burns for pTGC just yesterday.
Nice. I'm starting to look at those buy and burns as a raise, like the DAO is giving me a raise.
It's raising the price floor.
Yep, and raising my position with burn tokens. Everybody gets a raise and a position increase with every DAO buy and burn.
Yeah, I like looking at them, as one entity as like the killer whale, but sometimes I even like breaking it up, like pretending that $20,000 buy is a human, but that human is never going to sell those tokens forever. Because someone coming in at today's prices, $20,000 obviously isn't a crazy amount, but it's not a small amount either. It's not $500. And that's just like a normal user buying those tokens, but just never selling them for the rest of ever. pTGC could do 1,000x from here, and that 20,000 buy will still never take profits forever. pTGC could be 10,000x, in 20 years, but that buy still could never be sold back into the chart of pTGC.
Yep. Every single pTGC that's in the dead address will never earn another reflection or staking reward. It's genius.
And it will never access the liquidity backing the protocol. That liquidity that just got put in, that was 400 million PLS, got put into the liquidity web, but the tokens that got taken out is never going to access that liquidity. So what it's actually doing is it's giving more liquidity to the holders of pTGC like Banana, right? Because the tokens that got taken out of liquidity and the tokens that got put in are now only accessible by still the remaining users of pTGC. But the only people who actually get to be exposed to it are the people who are exposed to pTGC, which is super cool.
I look at it. I look at it in another way. You don't have you don't have very many systems out there. You don't have any really, that have a mechanism built in to buy out current holders out of their positions, right? It's always the greater fool. It's always you have to have more people coming in to buy the position, right? So you hope somebody comes in to buy the position, but the system's generating revenue. And so what we're seeing happening is that it's not a greater fool's principle or mechanic. It's actually a revenue generation mechanic where the system is just slowly and surely if people don't want to retain those tokens, they're being bought out of those tokens. And then those tokens are sent into a black hole forever, which raises the value for the existing token holders who have longer term hands. It amplifies the amount of APY that they earn. And it makes the existing tokens more valuable. It raises the price floor of the entire ecosystem. And it just continually does that. There's something about that you just don't find anywhere else. And the interesting thing is that I hate to say it, but we haven't even seen the power of it yet. because we're still pre Richard Hart's blockchain doing anything. So what we've witnessed so far is really nothing compared to the amount of revenue that'll be generated and the amount of buy and burns that'll be happening once we start to see PulseChain really fly.
Yeah. You know, you might hate to say it, but I love to hear it that we haven't even seen PulseChain flying yet.
Well, no, I'm just tired of talking about the revaluation of PulseChain. You know, when PulseChain revalues, hindsight's 2020. It's been a blessing because the system's been able to acquire so much liquidity, and we're now headed towards 16,100 users. But it's like what Xen says. I mean, it's interesting to think about it. Like, it's a human buying, but they're never selling.
I like how Shaka framed it. He says he looks at it another way, this buy and burn. Every buy and burn, as long as it's a dolphin position, is one less dolphin I'm sharing rewards with. And that's another truth. That's bringing it to the full scale. Josh T asks, what's the new price floor number on estimate? I mean, what's our price floor? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, there is no metric we really to know the price floor. Essentially, what the price floor means in crypto, what the price floor means is if everyone that has liquid tokens, all the available tokens that are available to be sold into the pool, if they were all sold into the pool all at the same time, this is what the price of the token would be if everyone sold. Right? So the price would tank, and this is where the price would land. So because this is a hyper deflationary ecosystem and the token never mints new tokens into existence, and there's only always tokens leaving supply. When you have $20,000 worth of tokens one day, 20,000, when you have $500,000 worth of tokens being taken out of supply every month or every couple of months or whatever it is, the price floor, meaning the amount of tokens that can actually be sold into the pool, constantly becomes less and less. So the price floor keeps going higher because there's less and less and less amounts of those tokens that can actually be sold back into the pools, which raises the price floor for the token. And this just happens infinitum. It's really, really hard to know the exact price for that because there's a lot of metrics to it, but nonetheless, that's what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, you could factor in locked tokens too if you wanted to go to the extreme. Stake tokens, locked tokens, and those would, reduce the price floor. But if you excluded those, then the price floor would be even higher.
Well, you could just even say, hey, let's just say everybody unlocked, everybody did whatever they were going to do. Let's just say all the tokens that could be sold were sold back into the pool. That's the floor. It will just continue to rise, though.
Yep.
Yeah, and this isn't like you're saying, Mando. It's really hard to know what the real price floor is because most likely no one is ever going to everyone sells, right? But
no one ever does that.
But what I do think was kind of cool is a couple months ago we saw PulseChain hit all-time lows, right? And we saw a decent sell-off on pTGC just because we did have a nice run-up going into February and people were taking profits, plus the market pulled back at that same time. So and then a few of the assets that we're even bonded with went on a really hard fall. Currently, they've bounced back a little bit. I'm talking about PDI. So we kind of saw an event where like a lot of negative things happened. Price went down with pTGC just due to people taking profits, which isn't really negative because our protocol has been successful and it's actually made people money. But then we also had all of blockchain, all of risk on assets kind of pull back. And then we also had some of our pair assets get exploited, in quotes, because some people think it's other things, but the price tanked, right, of these assets that were connected. And we saw, I think, our all-time low in market cap get close to 50 mil, I think. maybe we could pull that up, Banana, if you switch over to market cap. And not that that's like the exact floor, because obviously it could have gone lower. But I think in that exact moment, we saw a lot of worst case scenarios play out. And we saw the blockchain hit an all-time low. We saw some of our pairs literally, in quotes, get exploited. And then we also saw a good chunk of profit taking out of the pTGC system because of how much price rise we had. And that's where we kind of landed. And since that point, we've kind of been building up off of that. I think we're 3 point something X off of that level. And if PulseChain keeps moving in the right direction and ETH comes back, you know, it kind of hit that all-time high or close to that all-time high and pulled back a little bit. But if ETH kind of comes back and bursts through that all-time high, I think we're going to keep trending in the right direction.
Well, that is the monthly chart on the logarithmic chart, correct?
Yes. And we touched off 53 million in March.
Yeah, so right close to 50 mil. And on that, in that time, it was very much correlated with the bottom of PulseChain, very close to the all-time low of PulseChain, along with all-time lows of some of the assets that are big players in our liquidity web and the exploit. Like all that kind of stuff happened around the same time. So we have experienced situations where we were, in my opinion, kind of seeing possible, like when it rains, it pours kind of scenario. It was like, hey, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. And one thing that stood out to me is the machine was actually running really, really strong at those levels. You couldn't necessarily see it in price, but the value generation that we were actually seeing in those days, even with prices so low, were super nice. And then when we kind of moved into May, June, we were able to take action with some of that value that we generated, scooping up a lot of pTGC at super cheap prices.
Yeah, well, the individuals that sold those on fear and emotions, they obviously missed out on a ton of gains, you know, and that's what happens.
Yeah, crypto does that. Can't be too mad. Crypto's a hard space to navigate, and it definitely plays on people's emotions.
It sure does.
Yeah, the logarithmic scale though that you were just showing, it's, to me, I love using that scale. You know, a lot of people poo-pooed it because people overused it with Hex. But I love using that because that scale, it gives you the perspective of the actual percentage moves against the history of the chart, right? So a lot of the times you're looking at a chart zoomed in on on the standard scale, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, this is some huge dip. But when you put it on the logarithmic, it actually allows you to kind of scale out and see what that dip looks like compared to all other dips in the history of the actual asset. And when you're doing that, it gives you a perspective, a completely different perspective as to where you are, where the market is, the health of the asset. Because a lot of people, they turn into crackhead mode, and either they're staring at an hourly or some people are even zooming in on like 5 minutes, 30 minutes, hourly, instead of you should be doing, daily, weekly, monthly. Everything's looking great right now for Grays. It really, really is.
So to illustrate what you were talking about between the difference between log and what's the other term? You have log and,
well, you're just looking at a standard USD chart in price terms, right?
Here's that standard USD chart on the weekly, and then in log, it looks like that. It just smooths it all out.
I'm staring at the USD now. That's the log now. Okay, there's a delay. Okay. So yeah, so you can see that. Look at it. Look at the price chart in log. Can you just expand that so we don't have anything else on the screen real quick? Can you just just click the full? So you can we're just staring at the chart. Yeah. See where it says USD WPLS right there at the top? Just go at the top of the chart Prairie.
Okay, I got it. It'll just.
And then to the right, it says full. Yeah, there you go. Now you're
Okay,
just staring at the chart, right?
Yeah.
So now at the bottom right, you can toggle between percentage gains, the bottom right.
Mm-hmm.
If you click percentage, it'll take you to the standard chart.
Okay, there's the standard chart.
Yeah. Okay. And then just go back to log, right? So on the log, what you'll see is when you're looking at that chart, as somebody who does trading or is looking at stuff, it allows you to see the actual size of a retracement or a gain against the history of the entire asset. Okay. So, for example, a lot of the times when you'll have pTGC, it'll do a run up and then it'll pull back 35% or whatever from the top. People top blasted or whatever, and they're coming in and, I thought this chart was supposed to go up forever and ever and ever, right?
Yeah.
And they're looking at a 35-40% retracement or whatever it is from the previous top. Go back to the percentage chart real quick, and then pull a percentage retracement from the last top and how far we're back from the last top.
Okay.
Just right there on the right. Like where are we right now from the last top? Not that top. The
okay.
local top. Yeah. Right. Not that top.
Yeah. This one right here.
I hate the delays.
Yeah, what a pain in the butt. 46%.
Okay, now go back to the log. Yeah. So look at what a 46% retracement looks like.
It's nothing, dude. It's just a speed bump.
Compared to the history of the asset.
Look at that, man.
Right? That's why professionals use the logarithmic chart to give you the proper perspective. It's kind of like when you're in an airplane and you leave the tarmac and everything looks like a train set once you get up there high.
Yeah.
You have the proper perspective of everything, right? So
yeah,
this is what people need to learn how to do, is to not let emotions take over, to have the proper perspective on the asset, on the history of the asset, how it ebbs, how it flows, how it breathes, especially with the Grays, understanding how the liquidity web works, how this thing is set up for a massive revaluation. And we're right at the tipping point of that revaluation.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing I find interesting about looking at the log chart, and I know Banana was here during this time and you were here during this time, is when we go back to 2024 March, right? And there is that retracement that happened from March to pretty much August. Yeah, right there. And that was kind of a large pullback on not only pTGC, but also all of crypto. ETH had a pullback at the same time. Bitcoin had a pullback, and so did PulseChain in general. And at that time, and on the percentage chart or the standard chart, as you're talking about, this pullback looked massive, right? And we can see this pullback on the log chart. But now when you go over to the percentage or the standard chart, if you flop over to it and you go to this time frame, you can almost not even see it anymore, right? So the funny thing to think about is the pullback that we're experiencing right now and how big that looks like on the standard chart. I might have a delay too, but Banana, if you can go over to the standard chart.
Yeah, it's delayed by about, I think, 5 to 10 seconds, Xen.
Okay.
So, you know.
Yeah.
And just
so look how small that looks on the standard chart because we moved on to the next floor or the next zone that we've been trading in. So now this percentage or standard chart is showing this whole new range that we're working in, where that range looks massive, the dip looks massive. But if you go and look at the previous one, which you kind of have highlighted in red right now, it looks like nothing. So how I look at it is, this whole range that we're sitting in right now, the opportunities that's presenting itself, like you could see that massive opportunity that we're kind of even in right now. Like we've had a few red, maybe that's days or weeks. Yeah, week candles. Had a few red weeks, possibly showing a discount, an opportunity on PTGC to get in. There was previously that amazing opportunity that happened a few months ago, and it looks massive, right? And I think that opportunity is massive for the time period we're in. But when PulseChain and when we start to move to the next level, even these massive dips that we're in right at this moment can become just tiny waves on the chart, just like you can see in the previous one that happened in 2024. But we do have to move to that next level. And I think we're getting pretty close. But like Mando said, like it's kind of getting a little old, kind of saying like, hey, when PulseChain revalues, like all of us know this at this point. One thing that we can focus on is, hey, what can PTGC do in the meantime, right? We've already done so much. We're educating, we are onboarding, we are making our supply more scarce, we're getting more liquidity in there, we're doing what we can to boost APY by getting more liquidity in there, hunting, new pairs that are speculative that might have some good longevity. So there is things that we can do in the meantime as we prep for the revaluation of PulseChain. And when that revaluation comes, like I personally believe this, I don't know of a person or a system that's more prepared than the Grays.
Yeah, what you're witnessing there, looking at that chart, is I'm sure you guys have seen the kind of bullish videos, the time lapse videos of a chart, maybe like a SHIB chart or something like that, where it showed from the beginning of the chart, and it just shows this time lapse where it just shows the chart doing what it's doing over the course of its lifespan, and goes way up and then comes back down and then levels out, and there's an accumulation phase, and then just boom, goes way up and comes back down. And each one of those cycles, you have people that are taking profits, but you also have a lot of people that are selling on emotion because they don't understand what the hell's going on. And these people are selling just to watch it just go so much higher to the next level, so much higher to the next level. PTGC is creating a beautiful chart for a time lapse. And to your last statement on the previous larger drawdown, the big piece is that those drawdowns weren't even really drawdowns all that much in terms of people selling their PTGC as much as was reflexivity in the LPs. And a lot of people in the early days didn't understand that sometimes you could be looking at the Grays currency chart going down, but that's not indicative of people selling a lot as much as it is the LPs coming down. And so what it'll do is it'll cause them to sell out of their bags. I remember seeing a lot of people selling their bags in those red weeks, and just to watch it just blast off into never land, and that's what you don't want.
Well, look at this red area after March, right, where we tumbled down a number of percent, like 45% or something like that. And then we'll scroll back to the time period Xen was talking about from March 2024. Watch, I'll scroll it back and it looks practically identical in the standard chart.
Well, what you can do is, yes, do that. You see that? So you just did something very important there. You just made the proper perspective of what people were feeling and looking at back then on the chart, right? And so they're making choices based off of staring at the USD percentage valuation chart there. Okay. But then when you go and you zoom out on the chart now, it's exactly like what Crypto Tiger just wrote. We just drove over a leaf in the road. Now looking back, that looks like it was a leaf in the road on the chart when everybody was freaking out about it back then, for the people who were the emotional traders and just thought maybe it was it was the Armageddon of PTGC like they do, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I think you could even go back one more, Banana. If you do that scroll again, you can even go back to, I remember this time period. keep going, keep going, keep going.
Oh, wow.
There
Yep,
was even
there's
that time
that,
period, and I
that was the
specifically
first cycle. Yep.
Yep, that was the first microcycle of pTGC, and I specifically even remember having phone calls with Mando at this time when we had that first pullback after the initial, token just came out. You get that initial hype, and there was the pullback from people taking profits because we did have a decent move, and people didn't fully understand the system yet. Also, PulseChain pulled back at the same time, and people got a little bit emotional. But then, if you go through that scrolling phase that you just went through, Banana, all those dips have been the best opportunity to get a position in pTGC to date, right?
Absolutely.
And it's opportunity because not everyone was on PulseChain every single day looking for the next token, right? But that dip presented an opportunity to the people who maybe pop their head in every other day or once a week. And then we had that next dip that came up, and maybe those are the people that kind of pop their head in every month, kind of looking what's new, what's good, doing some research, but obviously somewhat busy within real life, which is understandable. And then we had the more recent one too, which at that point there was a lot of people who kind of understood the pTGC space at this point, understood how the machine. So the market will constantly give you opportunities to get into a protocol. It's from people taking profit, of course. It's also from general market pullbacks because everything's tied together. The question that you have to ask yourself is, are you someone, or the people are they someone who take advantage of discounts when they present themselves? Or are you the people who just buy higher when there's green candles?
So is can you hear me, Prairie?
Yes.
It sounded like Xen cut off for a second there. Did he get cut off?
It almost sounded like he did. I think he might be in a dead zone.
Okay, so you look at the all-time high, and if you pull a retracement from the all-time high back down, if you could do that real quick, just leave the chart right where it's at. Just go from that wick all the way up. So we'll take the max pain exactly, and go straight down all the way to the bottom to where it bottomed out. What is that?
87%.
Okay. So to me, that represents the max pain available, because that is when you had the massive PDI issue that happened with the minting of the PDI, and you had tons of people that started to freak out and sell down their PDI and bridge out of the chain, and then it just took the chain down into the depths of new all-time lows. That represents like max FUD on PulseChain. That was also the first time where we kind of went to a lower resistance level, because the previous charts, the previous cycles all shows we go up, we come down, but we create a higher low. We go up, we come down, create a higher low. We go up, come down, create a higher low. That was the first time where we kind of went down a little lower. But then we bottomed at a 7.71 to 1 ratio against PulseChain. That was literally the bottom. And people were saying, pTGC only can do this if it was linked to PDI or doing whatever. It can't go up. I don't know why they were saying that. And then it just went up and did a massive run of, almost 280% over the last few weeks. But that represents, now go ahead and look at that on the log chart. Look at that big 85% retracement. Go to the full view and go to the log chart, and let's look at that compared to the entire history of the actual asset. There you go. There you go. That literally just looks like a channel of an accumulation phase.
Yes.
At that point. Right?
We're in it.
So yeah. And right now where we're at is obviously I think we're in the middle of a bull run. We are. Bitcoin and ETH just did a standard, healthy, perfect, we wanted this to happen retracement for an elongated bull run. You're not going to have ups without downs. You're not going to have ebbs without flows. The marketing, Richard's out there bull posting. We also have a bunch of people that are starting to come in from other chains. And the pump.tire stuff is starting to happen a lot more on PulseChain. People are starting to chase green candles and stuff like this. But you can see how nominal, when you look at the history of the asset, the current pullback is. But every one of these has represented in the past a great opportunity to pick up pTGC tokens at cheaper valuations. And then, once that ratio hits a certain ratio, where we just feel like it's just grossly undervalued, that's when the killer whale comes in and just starts buying the shit out of it.
Yep. Like you just did yesterday.
No, that was just a nominal buy and burn. That was just, it's like we had a gentleman the other day actually took profits. He had something he had to do and took profits, and somebody came, it was like 50 grand, and somebody came in and bought 50 grand right up underneath of him.
Yep. I remember that.
Yeah.
This is the resilient token that Crypto Stylist referred to. She's like, it's so resilient. People will dump a bag and then other people will scoop it right back up.
Well, it's because there's a lot of people on Pulse. There's a lot more money on the sidelines on PulseChain than people really think. And it doesn't necessarily have to be on PulseChain at the moment, because people can bridge it in minutes. It could be sitting on Ethereum. And there's a lot of people that know what the Grays is now. And that's why, even though there's only so much X amount of active users on PulseChain, that's why we have.
Lost you for a second, Mando. Yeah, we're not hearing you. You're going to have to rewind about 10 seconds once you're back.
Sorry about that. I
That's
got
all right.
cut off there.
Hey guys, sorry, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, did I drop you down accidentally?
No, I had to drop down because you guys couldn't hear me anymore because I got a call and it somehow booted me.
Okay.
I missed a little bit of what you guys were just saying because one of my employees was talking to me at the same time. Sorry for multitasking. But I wanted to finish what I was getting at before I got that call that kind of booted me. Is even with like standard retracements and stuff like that, people taking profits, or PulseChain pulling back, this does give new users the opportunity to get a discount that a lot of people look for in getting into a product. Some people do not chase green candles, right? Some people do chase green candles. I do think a lot of retail will chase green candles, but a lot of people who are crypto veterans do look for discounts on tokens. So sometimes a healthy pullback is okay because we are able to onboard on those healthy pullbacks at a discounted price, technically a sale. You know what I mean? It's like a sale on a great product. And some users legitimately just look for sales. And when we onboard during those sales, you never know who that onboard could also know, right? That one person that just bought that dip the other day that Mando was talking about, someone sold like 60 grand to do something in real life. Then someone saw that discount and literally bought 60 grand. But that person who just bought 60 grand, now they're a holder of pTGC. So we're increasing our holder count. And by us increasing our holder count, that user now might have their own network of people who they're now encouraged because they like the product and now they hold the product to educate their network on what this protocol is. If that's one buddy or if that's 10 buddies, you never know, right? You never know when there's going to be a discount and a banana comes about, someone who wants to work really hard and be part of the community and help stream and help build and grow the ecosystem. And I think with discounts, these present opportunities to new people. And then along with the fact that I still believe when Hex went on its run in its bull cycle, the Hex community probably grew by 20x, right? I think PulseChain is going to have this situation. And when new users start coming to PulseChain, there will be some users of this 20x of community that grows, the inflow of people that come in, who will just buy pTGC at any price they find it at, right? They're going to just expose themselves. And they might expose themselves with 25% of what they're willing to put in, 50%, or 100%, right? And there's some people that won't just buy any price. They're going to look for the sale. So then a discount presents itself. And what this offers the either existing community or even a new user is a possibility of increasing their position at a cheaper price, right? And then we actually give these users the opportunity to buy that cheaper price, but that cheaper price that user is getting in at, who now maybe is motivated to educate others and grow our ecosystem even more, is a lot higher than some people that possibly even sold the chart down to that price, right? You might be letting someone else out that's up 10x and letting someone in at the new floor. And now this new user wants to work and grow the ecosystem to the next level. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was good, man. And so one user dumps 60,000 tokens. Let's put it, $60,000 worth of tokens. Let's put it this way. And let's look at that as 3 dolphin positions. And there are people on the sidelines waiting to scoop that up. So somebody sells 3 dolphin positions. One guy sells 3 dolphins, and you got 30 squids, 30 brand new squids, and that's just a guess. And that what that does is that increases the token distribution. And you might have 75% of those new buyers be diamond handed. Do you follow that?
I 100% agree. I think it's increasing the distribution. It's growing the community. You now have gotten a new community member that has their own brand new network. So like the community member who maybe took 60 grand of profit, we don't know when he got in. I didn't look that far in depth, but let's say he was up 10x, right? He's came in with 6 grand. Now he has 60 grand. Well, within that time, he most likely onboarded his own network and he got up in price, but then he took profits or sold his whole bag, whatever it was. And then someone new was able to come in. But this new person that came in actually came in at the new floor, and they have their own new network. So that new user now, let's say they both had 10 friends that they can onboard. Well,
I think you got another phone call.
Oh, did we lose him?
Sorry. Can you guys hear me?
We can now, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I did get another phone call. But what I was getting at is the person 10x ago has most likely already tapped into his network. So, and he's probably trying to get new networks, but for the most part, he's kind of tapped into his system and he's up, right? But then by a little discount presenting themselves and you letting in new users, you're giving a discount, a sale price to this new user to where he feels good about getting in. But now he feels willing to kind of tap into his network, which is great because it increases the holders. But then you have to keep in mind that network he just tapped into most likely has all their own sub networks, right? So by discounts presenting themselves, I definitely think in short term it feels sad and rough because we're like, oh, we want to be constantly trending up against PLS forever, or we want our price going up and up and up forever. But there is positive parts happening. There's the distribution part, and there's the opportunity that we can increase our holding count during those discounts as well. And then by increasing our holding count, Medcoff's law, this should expand out. One guy tells 2 guys, 2 guys tells 4 guys, 4 guys tells 8 guys, 8 guys tells 16, and you can, it's kind of the 16 now is 32, 32 is 64, 64 is 128, and it could start to grow very rapidly. And we're already at 16,000 holders of pTGC. Some of those are people who have taken profits and left, obviously. But the point is we've been able to educate 16 or expose ourselves to 16,000 wallets. And there isn't even like 16,000.
Oh, no, he dropped out. He'll come back. There he is. You were saying there aren't even 16,000 active users, I think?
on PulseChain. I would say there's not 16,000 active users on PulseChain as of right now.
Okay.
So with the increasing holding count from a bull run, just like we saw with Hex, you know, it maybe went from, Hex probably went from 5,000 holders last cycle to maybe 100,000 active holders, right? So a 20x in holders. If PulseChain experiences something similar or greater because it's an actual blockchain instead of just a token, this can be a very, very amazing opportunity for the growth of pTGC in the near future. Massive marketing campaign starting.
Sure, there's got to be more than 16,000 active users on PulseChain. I don't know if you meant to say that, but I mean, there were 21,000 new PLS wallets just in July.
Yeah, I'm saying active users, like people who are active on the chain daily.
Okay. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great.
I wanted your input, Mando, on how many new users you think Hex brought in its big run up. You know, we estimate it 20 to 30x the number of users between when it started to the top of the cycle, last cycle.
Yeah, so I have a vantage point that maybe a lot of people don't have. I want to make sure you guys are hearing me when I answer this.
Okay, I can hear you.
Okay, because I was an admin with Richard through both sacrifices, and during that time that Hex had its mega run up, we were also running a sacrifice set, right? And so I know for a fact that we were onboarding new users because I was one of the main administrators for Richard during the sacrifice set, and we were helping thousands and thousands of people coming in, wanting to know how to get on chain, how to sacrifice, how to do this, and a lot of them were basically just buying. They were buying Hex, and then they were sacrificing Hex, right? So the run up was not only correlated to the fact that there was so many people that wanted to participate in the PulseChain. I think at that time it was the Pulse X sacrifice for the PulseChain network. So the price was correlated with people not only being onboarded from that vantage point, but also a lot of them were buying Hex to send it into the sacrifice, because the value of Hex was going up so much faster. People actually would buy the Hex, ride the price up, and then sacrifice it whenever they just couldn't take the gains anymore. And they actually were able to get a lot more out of the sacrifice because how fast Hex was going up. So yeah, it was like a triple whammy back then. And there's no question that we onboarded a lot of people to Hex through that time.
Okay, and I think the same thing is about to happen with PulseChain.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot of things happening on PulseChain that just normal PulseChain people don't really know about. You know, there's gonna come over a tsunami of people from Solana to PulseChain. Yep. I'm going to tell you this right now, and it's actually already starting to happen.
Yes.
And it's happening on pump.tires.
That's right.
And that's why, and this is why most people don't understand that these degens don't give a rat's ass, pardon my French, about what EVM they're on, as long as they can run transactions on a decentralized exchange and it's fast and it's cheap and they can make money. They don't care. Now, the difference is on PulseChain, what's better about it is that they actually aren't getting cheated the first day, because on Solana, these devs are using pump.tire or, on Sol, and it's just, you think there's a lot of tokens on PulseChain, times that by 100 on Sol, and imagine dealing with that, right? So what we're starting to see right now is we're starting to see a small influx of devs starting to come over and realize that PulseChain is just a cleaner, better environment to actually build things on, to launch memes on. Some have short-term mindsets, some have long-term mindsets, but you guys have to understand something, and it's a cautionary tale. I was telling you guys at the beginning of the show that you're soon going to see a massive uptick in activity on pump.tires. And if you're not careful, you will lose your ass chasing stuff, selling down pTGC, selling down your PulseChain, selling down whatever you have, trying to emotionally chase green candles. So what I highly recommend that you do, what I highly recommend, and this is advice, this isn't financial advice, this is just strategic advice. Whatever amount of capital that you want to be able to play in that casino, decide what it is now. Decide, I am not willing to give up these grade A tier 1 quality assets that I have for my family's future. I am not touching these. This is what I have to work with. Now, if you're on PulseChain and you're subscribed to B Roots, or you've listened to him for years, or you followed the meme team, and you followed the Crypto Kings, you followed our strategies, you should know how to use the laws of meme coins to take profits. So if you start out with $1 grand, $3 grand, $5 grand, 10 grand, you should be able to parlay that into 10x that, 50x that, without having to draw down your tier 1 assets. If you can't take $5 grand and turn it into 50 grand in a PulseChain bull run pump.tires environment, you're going to lose all your money anyway. That's just a fact. And that's just something that you have to understand right now before that rush of energy comes in. But remember, the asset that we call the Grays Currency and the Grays Currency ecosystem, it's a 24-month tested machine. There's nothing like it anywhere else. And those gains, when people make those gains, a percentage of those gains are going to go into the tier 1 assets. That's what always happens. So I'm giving you a little bit of a forewarning. Have whatever you want to degen when that energy hits the chain, and say, this is what I've got to parlay into $1 million, whether it's 10,000, 20,000, whatever it is. I'm not touching it. If I lose that parlaying, I'd probably lose it if I sold $20,000 more of my Grays Currency and tried to do it, right? Yeah, you probably would. So use the laws of meme coins. Be really smart. To me, I would subscribe to B Roots because he is the best meme coin guy on PulseChain, and he will continue to be until he evaporates into the sunset. And from there, just know that when this Solana, storm comes, because it is going to come, you guys are prepared emotionally, financially, mentally with a game plan, and not just literally just blowing your whole wad on shit and losing half your money.
That's solid advice, dude. I mean, don't kill the golden goose. Perhaps take some of your gains from the golden goose and go play in the casino. But I don't know about you, if you've ever gone into a casino, but when I was younger, I messed around in a casino. I went in with the mindset, I'm going to spend this $20, and once it's gone, I'm not spending any more of my money. And it was gone in quick order.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, B Roots, he hates it. We go to Vegas because, I go with Ian and I go with B. Last time we went to the conference, and I'm not a gambler. I don't gamble. My gambling is meme coins, but you ain't gonna get me because the odds are much better in my favor, frankly. But you can't get me to gamble in Las Vegas. It's just not something I like to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't understand that back then. But anyhow, Xen, do you have any comments on that? On what Mando just stated?
Yeah, I completely agree with Mando, right? Like if you have the skill set to win in the meme coin casino, you can have, put $10,000 aside and just say, this is my meme coin bag. I'm going to play the game. And if you're good enough at the game, you should make money off of that meme coin bag. If you're bad at the game, this is like if you're bad at poker, it's a game that is in a way with chance, but also in a way with skill. I consider meme coins very much the same game, and it's a game of taking money from other people. The good players usually take money from the bad players. Definitely understand where you're at, play the game, have fun, but if you see yourself losing, you should kind of recognize very quick like where you are in that game. And if you keep tapping into your savings account in quotes when you're at the casino, you can drain through it very, very quick. And this is a lot of what the casino wants you to do. So just be smart, and if you hit some wins, keep playing with that value or whatever, and see if you hit a few more. If you lose it quick, be just smart about what you tap into to keep playing. Don't go crazy.
Well, what we've witnessed then is even on PulseChain before Pump.Tires, and with some of these ecosystems that kind of popped up and had certain things, we saw people that were actually good holders sell out of their positions to go chase those carrots.
Yeah, crypto's designed in that way to be a shiny object, new day that promise you a 10x in 2 hours. Like that's the
well, this situation, it wasn't even a 10x; it was chasing yield.
Yeah,
and
it's anything,
they lost all their damn money. Yeah,
it's anything. They'll wrap anything in a shiny wrapper to present it to you to try to get your savings account, to get your store of value from your wallet into their wallet. That's the game. You have to understand that 99% of tokens that launch are launched to get the value out of your pocket into their pocket. And then you need to understand with Pump Tires, the majority of devs that are launching on Pump Tires, this is their goal. And the influencers that are calling these tokens right when they launch on Pump Tires, this is their goal as well. So you can beat them at their game and make some great money. And then there's also a few runners that actually have good intentions. Like I said, 1%. But just be careful, because the majority of them, 99% of them, are designed to get the money out of your pocket into their pocket. And I look at PulseChain, PulseX, Hex, pTGC, UFO like a kingdom of value, right? And people are going to try to tell you and promise you X's, this or that, attract you to get the value out of your kingdom into their own personal pocket. This has been happening for thousands of years. This isn't the first time. They just are encapsulated in different vessels. The current vessel is crypto, right? People want to get the value out of your wallet into their wallet. In the past, it was internet schemes. In the past before that, you can just go down the list of things that have came up to try to get value out of people's pockets. It's not a new thing. Just be careful. As a holder of pTGC, as a holder of UFO, as a holder of PulseChain, as a holder of PulseX, the awesome thing about a Pump Tires or a meme coin or a bull market on PulseChain is the activity from people degenning by owning PulseX, by owning PulseChain, by owning pTGC, by owning UFO. You are the casino. Everyone's activity, every token that launches on Pump.Tires is literally trapping a good chunk of PulseChain into a burnt liquidity pool that can never be accessed. So think about right now, there's 10 Pump.Tires, let's say, that come out a day. Let's say 9 of them fail, and that project just dies there with $5,000 of Pulse in it at these prices of PulseChain, right? PulseChain is going to rise, and that means that PLS in that liquidity pool is going to rise. Overall, what I'm getting at is all those dead-end liquidity pairs that will just die there are PulseChain that can never be sold for stables. This is good for the PulseChain's price. All that value just getting stuck in these dead Pump.Tire tokens is PulseChain that can never be sold again. And this will happen in mass volume when actual bull runs happen. And this is really, really good for the PulseChain price if you're owning PulseChain. Also, all of these pairs are V1 liquidity pairs, which is very good for the PulseX buy and burn. So all of the trading that happens in these meme tokens are increasing the value of your PulseX if you have PulseX. So you don't need, what I'm getting at is, don't feel pressured into playing the casino game to get wins. If with all your value, like play if you want to play with a little bit, everyone's their own purpose, or play with all your money if you want to play with all your money. I don't care. But don't feel pressured, because all of this activity, the Pump.Tires design was specifically designed by Richard and his team to, over the long term, give value to the assets that have longevity and sustainability. PLS, PLSX. Luckily for the design of pTGC and UFO, we've tapped into the same exact utility or ability as well. As volume, as activity flows through the chain, tapping into these resources, we are becoming more scarce and we are becoming more valuable. Yes, you're not receiving a 10x in the matter of 2 hours. These larger products don't offer that, but you're also not getting rug pulled and you're not losing all your value in a matter of 2 hours as well.
I agree with everything he said. I just want to add to it. Like, yeah, sure, go have fun in the meme casino. I've done a little bit of that. I have not personally made any massive gains there, but a lot of my buddies have. But I will tell you that in the last year, it has been impressed upon me the number of projects that are like pretty much hype. And in the last few weeks, maybe 6 to 8 weeks, I have been studying some of these hyped up projects, and we're not going to use any names, but then comparing them to the Grays Currencies. And which brings me to a post I put up, I think the day before yesterday, that's pinned on my Twitter. Find me one project that has better tokenomics and a better track record than pTGC and UFO. So far, one person brought me one, but it didn't meet the minimums. pTGC and UFO far exceeded that other project.
You know, if you don't mind, put up on the screen on Dex Tools and go to Solana for the blockchain.
You're gonna have. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit. I have tried to pull up other chains. I do not know how.
Now, I'm not talking about on Dex Screener. Go to Dex Tools.
Okay.
Yeah, go to Dex Tools. You're always on Dex Screener, so
yeah.
For this specific thing, yeah. And this piggybacks while you're doing that. This piggybacks off what Xen was talking about, because the pump tire, the pump ecosystem over on Solana, the dev over there has just completely just crushed it. I mean, he just enriched himself beyond, just beyond what you could ever have believed, right? It's been a complete extraction of the chain.
Somebody told me yesterday that pump.tires is way better than Pump Fun.
Well, it is for the chain. This is my point. But I want you to take a look at something just real quickly. So what you do is you just put into the search bar up at the top pump, PUMP, and then just click on the pump USDC chart or USD chart when it pops up. Just put in PUMP.
Okay.
Because just recently they just deployed the token. They deployed a token for it, right? Which it's just a duct taped on token. Okay, go to the first pair and then go to the weekly.
Okay, we're on the weekly pump USDC.
Okay, so look at that. Now, look at the market cap and the liquidity.
$3 billion in market cap, 15 million in liquidity.
Now grab the smart contract address. You can see the pump smart contract. You just copy it to the clipboard.
Yep.
And then paste it in the search bar real quick.
You see it yet?
Okay. So you gotta. So here's its LP, right?
Yep.
And so you're looking at a duct tape token onto a pump.tires situation or a pump fun on Solana. And the dev just completely enriched himself. The system is 100% designed to enrich the dev and then just keep enriching the dev, right? And then let's create a pump token, which it didn't need. And it's, the people who originally put money in it at the top, they got wrecked. Look at the liquidity web, though. Just go back to the top, because those ones are kind of like minuscule. Go back to the top real quick.
Okay. The first one is 15.6 million. That's pump USDC. Pump Sol is 2 million. Pump
Right.
USDC. Yeah.
Okay.
Several pairs.
Now look at the fact now that Richard designed pump.tires for all of this economic energy and value that people are willing to engage with that system.
Ooh.
And it all 100% goes to burning his tokens. There's no value being taken to enrich himself. It's all going, and it's all going to go. All the energy is going to come from the other chains to this pump tires. It's going to go toward pumping his tokens.
Whoa.
There's no written code that backdoors stuff to some dev to enrich himself. It just pumps the shit out of his ecosystem. So what I'm trying to show you is look at the demand. Look at the amount of speculation that's available. This token's a $13 billion market cap with, I don't know, maybe $20 million of liquidity. Now, let's go to the Grays. The Grays is 170 million market cap. UFO is a 40 million market cap with way more liquidity, with bonded with the assets that Richard has all set up to pump, with real mechanics, with real demand in the real world on other chains with like-kind protocols at the bottom of freaking PulseChain.
Mm-hmm. That's so bullish, man.
Yeah,
And it's
I was
Go
gonna
ahead.
say real quick, Mando. One of the biggest things that Richard changed between Pump.tires and Pump.fun is Pump.fun always makes liquidity with USDC. So for users to actually be exposed to Pump.fun assets, they have to sell their soul for USDC. This is the main thing that hurts Solana's price. Yes, it brings in people to the blockchain and creates that activity, but this isn't a net positive for the price of PulseChain. And all of the revenue that gets generated goes to the dev. It doesn't go to buy and burns for the DEX token. It doesn't go to increasing the value of Sol. It actually hurts the value of Sol. Where Richard made it to where on any Pump.tires token, let's say, for an example, most gets to the level that we just saw with this pump token. Well, that first pool had $15 million in it, right?
Yes.
Half of that is USDC. So half of it is $7.5 million of a stable coin in a liquidity pool with that pump token. In Richard's system, if one of his tokens got to that same level, it would be $7.5 million of PLS in that liquidity pool. So if new users want to get that $7.5 million to go into that stablecoin, they have to buy PLS. Imagine just $7 million coming over that bridge right now to be exposed to a product like that. That would send PulseChain's price up like 7x. Well, now
This is what people don't see.
This is what no one understands. So now when people want to be exposed to these assets that are meme token gambling, they have to get PLS to put in the LP pool to even get these meme coins. And when they get PLS, they're increasing the value of everything that actually is sustainable on chain. This is increasing the value of pTGC. This is increasing the value of UFO. This is increasing the value of all of Richard's tickers. This is helping the buy and burn of PulseX. So it's all self-sustaining off of one aspect of crypto, right? This gambling casino is just one, I think it's just one trick of up Richard's sleeve that we've been shown so far. No one has even put together how much that could even do for PulseChain with a successful pump.tires. You do not need to play to reap the rewards, not at all. Just in this one pool, if $7 million came over to make one successful pump.tires token with a $15 million, it could simply 7x the price of all of our assets. We don't even need to be exposed to it. You can let them play. And then if you look at that volume that was happening daily in that pool, I think it said like $4 million. Well, keep in mind, PulseX would have then $4 million of volume, and the PulseX token would buy and burn at that point. What would that be, like $4,000 just off of that one pair? Or is that $40,000 off of that one pair?
Dude, the RH assets, the way that it's set up, are so undervalued, so grossly undervalued for the market that it's in against like-kind assets. It's just stupid. Because Richard set up his ecosystem the way that Richard sets up tokenomics. He is the pump tokenomics guy, right? You talk about pump.fun. He has his ecosystem right now, the way that the math is set up, the way that the economy is set up, the way that the ink rewards are set up and the inflation, the way that the hex was nominalized in APY, the way that the pump.tires ecosystem is set up, the way that everything is set up with the OA. There is not a system mathematically more set up and primed for a pump than this ecosystem. There's just not. And that's why Richard said in his tweet, all you haters are about to be very butthurt.
Yeah.
And he's literally telling them.
Well, guys, is there anything else we want to cover?
Well, there's probably a lot.
There's probably a lot. There is one question from Mointy Metratron. Do you guys think UFO can flip pTGC? I do. I just don't know that for a fact. I mean, I think it could happen. Anything could happen.
Yeah, anything could happen. But we have to keep in mind, as UFO is more successful, it drags up pTGC. They're directly bonded in liquidity. UFO also is buying and burning pTGC, where pTGC is not buying and burning UFO. So I don't think everyone needs, like, I think people obsess so much about, like, oh, is it going to flip it or not? I think they both will be successful, and they both are going to help each other be successful in both of their growth, just like the success of Richard's tickers are going to create more success in the pTGC, the Grays ecosystem. How Richard has, and how we even 2 years ago set all this stuff up, is so much of a team effort, to where the success of the pump.tires ecosystem, right? This is a whole ecosystem. They're going to increase the value of PulseChain. They're going to increase the value of pTGC and UFO. By our success, we're going to increase the value of Hex. We're going to increase the value of PulseX. By PulseX success, it's going to increase the value of, PulseChain. It's going to increase the value of Hex. It's going to increase the value of us. We are so low, and everything is so bonded together, and everything that matters on chain is so self-propelling. Like, the value that gets generated in pump.tires goes all back to the ecosystem, right? The DEX fees on PulseX goes all back to the ecosystem. If it's rewarding LP providers, or if it's just a buy and burn directly to the PulseX token itself, it's all self-sustaining, and 100% of the revenue just going back into the token's price, or paying the holders for holding up token prices. pTGC is doing the exact same thing. It's generating revenue off of all of this movement. It's generating revenue off of people buying and selling, market makers fixing prices, and 100% of it is constantly going back into the bottom of the ecosystem. If some spark, like, literally PulseChain is just like a field of just the most dry weeds you could ever imagine. And if Richard or someone just puts one spark, I can imagine a situation where just this whole entire ecosystem just starts going crazy, just burning everywhere. just the brightest light that could attract just every blockchain just specifically to here.
Josh asks, is it possible to stake UFO? No. You can LP UFO or you can hold it. Those are the two things that you can do with UFO. PTDC you can stake and you can also lock it. So you can do 3 things with PTDC, 2 with UFO. Well, gentlemen, trying to be mindful of people's time because we're all busy. Are there any final words?
I'll just say that I think that the Grays currency is massively undervalued, massively undervalued, because all of the bonded things that we're connected to in liquidity are massively undervalued, and because the Grays is a machine that's never been built before on any blockchain. It's never been seen before on any blockchain, and we've got over 24 months of data and KPIs that people can look at. And like we were showing you earlier, when you look out and you zoom out and you have the perspective of the USD price, the percentage charts, the logarithmic charts, and you see what's going on, all of these things are going to happen. And when Richard's PulseChain is no longer undervalued anymore, people are going to be looking hindsight as 2020. Now that's advice, but I'm telling you that my personal belief is that this will probably be one of the first $1 billion market cap valuations on PulseChain. I don't think that there's anybody that has that knows about it that believes any otherwise. There's going to be ebbs and flows and ratios between the cores and the Grays currency tickers because that's just how that it works. But the entire time, this system is benefiting from that volume and volatility by generating millions of dollars in PulseChain revenue that goes right back to the holders. There's nothing like this on any other chain. There's nothing else like this that's been proven to work on PulseChain, in the sense that it was launched benevolently. It took a lot of money to be given away for free. There's no gotchas. There's no gimmicks. There's no trust me, bro dynamics. There's no a portion of the yield or a portion of the tax that goes to some dude on the side. Everything 100% goes back to the holders. And from day one, everything has gone to the holders. It's just a pure benevolent system that is going to benefit tremendously by the revaluation of Richard's assets. And we're right at the tipping point. We're literally, I think, 2 weeks out from the first marketing starting to hit in the US, which I personally just believe is a plausible deniability factor for Richard to revalue his chain in a natural way. So get involved, come into the TG, get your questions answered. Make sure that when the energy hits the chain, and a lot of these new devs come over here, which we're already starting to see on Pump.Tires, that you have a certain amount of your capital that's already been segmented out for you to play the casino, so that you don't lose your core. That's very important. Anyone that we talk to in the subscribers, or that we're having real conversations with, this is how we teach people. Because if you let your emotions take you over, you're going to lose all your damn money. So just recognize where you're at, know what you're buying, when you're buying, why you're buying it, know why the Grays currency is unique and special. And if you have any questions, feel free to come into the TG.
Perfect.
Awesome, Amanda. Thanks for saying that. Yeah, one thing that I think that stood out to me is, we're getting very close to possibly the floodgates opening to PulseChain. And when these floodgates open for not only volume and price appreciation of the assets we're connected to, it also is opening up floodgates for new users that have no idea that even an asset like PTGC and UFO exist. No one knows it exists in this world. Very little people even know PulseChain exists to this point. I do think that this is going to change very rapidly, very soon. Obviously, we'll get to reap the benefits of price appreciation. Obviously, our system, one of the only systems out there that actually gets to reap the benefits of volume on the blockchain that they're built, due to the specific ability of PTGC, very unique to PTGC, never been seen before. There is also going to be a brand new group of people coming into PulseChain that have yet to even find out about pTGC. I think they're going to really like the product. And we've seen what pTGC can do in the last 2 months in a very unfavorable environment. And if I was a betting man, if I saw a system like pTGC, a community like pTGC's community, code like pTGC that's done so well in an environment that is not in its favor, I would not bet against it in an environment.
A growing community. Community.
I just would not bet against it. You don't have to bet with it. Everything is connected. But even if you're not in it, I do think it's going to be a very valuable tool to PulseChain in general. I think when it comes to marketing a blockchain, you have to have a few alt tokens that explode. And when some altcoin tokens explode, I think that helps onboard people to that blockchain, to the other sustainable tokens on chain, and then obviously also to that product that is exploding. You have to have a couple products like that. You can either be in them or not be in them. That's okay, but understand that that product is still good for your bags, even if you don't specifically hold one of those tokens. And I really am trying. A lot of out of my hand. Luckily, it's just code on a blockchain with really good mechanics at this point. But how the math is mathing out, I feel really good that pTGC is going to be that onboarding tool that a lot of us can use to help get people here to PulseChain. Very similar to what SHIB did for an Ethereum, what SafeMoons or Flokies or a lot of these meme tokens did for these other blockchains. A lot of people ended up on blockchains to access an alt token that did a lot of X's on those blockchains. They didn't even care about the blockchain itself. We have Math, we have Richard, we have Buy and Burns, we have LP ads, we have utility, we have ability. We have a lot of things that no one's ever had in previous cycles. And that's the power of being able to study off of all these previous cycles. So we're at a point where I'm super excited to see what happens next. I do think it's the secret ingredient of what pTGC is. And if this ingredient gets added, like I believe it can be added, I think it's going to change a lot of people's lives, which is super awesome, right? And even if you're not exposed, I think there's still opportunity to be exposed. PulseChain is still super undervalued. Even if you don't even get exposed, if you don't have extra capital, that's fine. But pTGC's intent, its design, is to be a net positive for the overall chain. So even if you're just holding Hex or PulseX or Pulse, I personally believe that pTGC can be utilized as a great way to onboard people to this blockchain overall.
100%. So we're recommending that everybody, I mean, if you're listening, you've been on the fence about pTGC, get yourself a just-in-case bag. I mean, if you're undecided, we're recommending, not financial advice, 1 million tokens minimum or whatever you can get to just in case, because we've had conversations. I've had conversations, private conversations in much smaller groups, and where this token could go, we're not even going to say out loud. It's just mind-boggling what could possibly perhaps happen. So, just in case that happens, Jick bag. Go vote for both pTGC and UFO at pulsefolio.com. That's plsfolio.com. It does help. You can vote twice a day. So go vote twice per day. We're going to have spaces on Saturday. I will not be there this coming Saturday, but Xen, I think you mentioned something about the Telegram voice chat that you're going to do tomorrow.
Yeah, so usually tomorrow I do my VCs at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I might have to adjust this time on you guys. I do not know the time I'm going to adjust it to. It could be a little later in the morning. It could be in the afternoon. I might move it to 3 p.m. I'm just very busy in real life right now at the moment. I will make sure I get a VC out tomorrow. So for anyone who does want to learn about pTGC and UFO or wants to just chat or talk about PulseChain in general, I will be hosting that in RTG. Please come and join. Please come and join the conversation. It's fun. It's lighthearted. It's not recorded, so you don't have to worry about being blasted on YouTube or anything like that. Just come on into the community and have some conversation or learn about pTGC and UFO in general.
We'd love to see that. Panama Papers sold big meme coin profits for pTGC. And I think that you're going to see a lot of that. A lot of that happening, guys.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to make too, is in the crypto casino, there is the situations where people make very large amounts of gains, especially the people who are good at the crypto casino. Because again, I kind of look at it kind of like poker. There's people who are good at poker. There's people that are bad at poker. But the people who are good at poker usually end up winning a lot. And those people, I think, will rotate some of those gains to the safe store of value systems that are hyper deflationary, pay APY, have tons of liquidity.
Well, then in general, if you're on ETH and you're shitcoining, it's all about getting more ETH.
100%.
Okay, so on PulseChain, it would be all about getting more PulseChain. But the beautiful thing about pTGC is pTGC has proved over 24 months that it is even a better store of value than PulseChain. So when people are earning their shitcoining gains, yes, they keep some in PulseChain, but they say, let me get out of PulseChain because I'm getting that yield, because we've got the reflexivity, we've got the buy and burn, we're going to get everything that happens with the system, everything's undervalued. So it's very rare that you would have somebody look at, hey, I just made $50,000 in a meme coin. Let me not put it in the layer one. Let me put it in this other PRC20 token built on top of it. You don't have a lot of things that people would do that with, but the Grays ecosystem is 100% one of those things.
100%. Especially if they're working with some house money, they might keep some of that house money in the casino to keep playing. But I don't see a world where people don't scrape half or more and put it in the good, safe store of values that still have the opportunity for great price appreciation on the chain. And we've been in the situation, and this is the funny thing is, to date, we've been in PulseChain for like 2 years, and there hasn't been a lot of plays on PulseChain where people have actually made good gains. So by the success of PulseChain, by the success of other protocols, we could actually see the rotation of people actually making gains and putting some profits in pTGC. Sadly, there just hasn't been a lot of winning systems on PulseChain to date, but I'm definitely excited for there to be winners so people could take some of their winnings and bring it into a premier store of value on chain.
I made some gains over on Ethereum and brought them across the bridge into the Grays. Yeah, man.
People are doing that too, man. They're shit coining on other chains and then bringing it in to buy Grays. We hear about it all the time.
Boy, am I glad I did, because I'm up, man. Big time. Bigly. All right, guys, let's shut it down. It was a good stream, and I think the audience clearly enjoyed it. So thank you guys for lighting up the chat. Pass this video around, and appreciate y'all being here. Thanks, Xen and Mando, both for coming in.
My pleasure. You guys have a good one.
See you guys.
Take care.